Hello everyone, you're watching Newcastle United Life and Times YouTube channel. My name's Rob, and on today's show I'm joined by Paul, Len, Alan and Owen, and we're here to discuss 2023 as a Newcastle United supporter. So, Alan, do you want to start first? Just sum up the last 12 months?
Well, I think it's been, highs and lows. February, we went to look at February, like January, where we had that dip in form, which started because of the Carabao Cup final, we took our eye off the ball in the league. But we hit a low point, getting knocked out of the final by your favourite, second favourite team, Rob, Manchester United. But we picked ourselves up, and we got into the Champions League, and that's a massive, massive achievement by this club where it came from, especially under Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe has worked wonders with that team, and if you look at that team, the most of it was under Steve Bruce. So it just shows you, if you coach a player, you can take them to the next level. You don't have to go out and buy mercenaries and superstars. You look at Joe Linton, Longstaff, Miggy. They all look different players under Eddie. He's done an absolutely fantastic job. And getting the Champions League was absolutely brilliant. I was over the moon, like Eddie, like the rest of years, you know what I mean? This season, we've started a bit iffy, but I think Europe has played a massive part in that. With FFP, we've got the spending power, but we can't use that spending power because of FFP. You could go and splash money, but look at Everton, minus 10 points. So, I'm looking forward to next year. I am. I know we're having a little dip at the minute, but we'll go into the, looking at the next few fixtures. But I think we've been out of Europe. It's a massive help to the squad and to probably Eddie Howe, So we can just reap the benefits, and then we'll crack on with the second half of the season. But overall, I've been quite great, really good with the season this year. I'll give it an A-.
Right, Alan, I'll just put a question here that I'll be asking everyone. 2023, what was your highlight?
Qualifying for the Champions League.
Okay.
Just hearing that music in the stadium and all that, while going bonkers. Even at work, we were playing it out with a speaker. The Champions League song, you know what I mean? That's them, it just takes you back, when Bobby Robson was here. The glory days are back. We had the entertainers, we had Bobby here. So Bobby, and it's just come back. So yeah, definitely qualifying for the Champions League.
Okay, very good. Owen, do you want to have your dip?
I should 2023 in all. I think Alan's mentioned sort of the highs and lows. To me, I think the lows are probably what would have been highs of the last sort of 14 years. So it's like we've made our own lows, so to speak. I know it sounds a bit of a cliche, and it sounds a bit confusing, but so many highs for me. I mean, you look at obviously the Champions League qualification, the Carabao Cup final, beating teams who wouldn't have matched or give a game sort of previous seasons or whatever. Obviously we're disappointed that we lost the Carabao Cup. I mean, I walked out of Wembley and I thought I'd be dejected, but I wasn't, because I kind of, I thought it's a thing, it's a sign of things to come. I know, that sounds a little bit aloof, might come across as a little bit arrogant, but just obviously the whole trajectory of where we've been and where we're going is it's just so much to look forward to. And yeah, it's like I said before, you kind of, the lows that we've created, in 3-4 years' time, I think there will be lows, because the expectations will be a lot higher and stuff like that. But 2023 in total, it was such a high for me. It's like loads of things. I mean, I got to sit next to me dad at Wembley. I got to sit next to me wife and me daughters, the Champions League qualification against Leicester when we drew that game. Just things like that, little things that'll stick with you, like loads of memories that'll come back later on in life and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, not want to echo too much what Alan said, but just in terms of the job Eddie Howe's done, fantastic. The players have been brilliant. They've given their all. I think we've been the sort of back end of this year. Obviously, the Champions League has taken its toll and what have you, but that comes with the territory. I think that they even mentioned it in the Amazon documentary. I think that the sort of top brass, I don't know if it was Ashworth or Eels, had mentioned that there's always an expected drop-off for a team that qualifies for the Champions League. So it's probably expected this season in terms of that. And it's just, again, it's frustrating, but these are frustrations that I can live with currently. I mean, again, it might be a different story in 2-3 seasons time when those expectations are a little bit differently. But yeah, overall, just unbelievable. Just a really, really fantastic season. I'm not going to let the last couple of weeks sort of put a damp on my year in terms of Newcastle United, because, you know, like I said before, the 14 years previous to that, it was just crap on it. So yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. So I'm going to go with an A+.
So highlight of the season for you, Owen?
The highlight of the season for me, it's a tough one.
The year. The year.
I'd probably. It was either the Southampton semi-final second leg when we qualified for when we got into the final of the Carabao, or that Leicester game when we qualified for the Champions League. But I think because it felt more like winning something, I'm going to go with the qualification of the Champions League, and that would have been was it 0-0 against or 1-1? I can't remember, against Leicester.
0-0.
0-0. The 0-0 game at the end of the game, and just the atmosphere and just the feeling of, you know, it was just like, that's as close as we've come for a long time to winning something. So yeah, I would say that was my highlight, Rob.
Excellent. Paul, what was your take on 2023?
2023. Well, it started off. I think we had the semi-finals, didn't we? We got through that, qualified for the final, and the low point in January, I think, was when we got knocked out by Sheffield, wasn't it? I think, and I rested a couple of players. Hopefully he doesn't do that this January in the FA Cup. It was a full-strength squad. And we're obviously qualifying for that final. Getting beat off Man United was disappointing, but just getting there. Certainly won't be another 20 years before getting to a cup final again, will it? I don't think.
No.
We went through the season. Obviously, when we got finished fourth, I just think it was towards the end of the season where it was just a string of, like, away performances were good last season. This season hasn't been so good, has it? The away performances. And the last season, I know we had a fully fit squad and all that. We had more players to choose from. But I think when I'm with Owen on that, when we qualified against Leicester for that Champions League, that would just stay in my memory. Like, when me and my young, and he was crying, and other people around were crying. They hadn't seen it for so many years. It was just like winning something, wasn't it? Just the ground, it was bouncing. But this is just the taster, isn't it? What's going to happen, isn't it, for the next so many years? Just a shame, like Alan says, we kind of go out and spend loads of money with this FFP. We've just got to be really careful. And I think this season we've been really start the season well. We're battered Villa. Obviously we played Liverpool, Man City. They were like pretty tough to take. Then we've just got these injuries. I think it's just built up. The squad, we did have a decent squad, but I think for 11 and 12 injuries is just unprecedented, isn't it? It's just far too many. It's not so much we've got a decent, like, 11 starting, but you can't change anything. And he was rotating Isaac and Wilson last season. This season he's just got to sort of play one of them. In fact, we haven't had either of them for a while, did we? 3 or 4 games we had no strikers. So I think he's been unlucky with Tonali, and obviously the Harvey Barnes one. The two, like, key signings were made haven't really worked out as such yet, have they? But I think, well, Eddie Howe's just doing a brilliant job, and people just need to remember this, don't they? Yeah. You've had a few doubters the last couple of weeks saying, "Oh, is he the man?" I'm thinking, what else could anybody do with the amount of injuries he's had and fatigue? And the games we've played, I mean, the cup draws we've had lately have been ridiculous. So I think all in all, 2023, I'd just say bring 2024 on, because I think we're just going one way, and that's up. Obviously, we've got the Adidas deal as well to look forward to, the new strips, and more money generated for hopefully January and the summer window. Just looking at Len there, if it is Len under there.
Yeah, exactly.
I think, yeah, we've got a lot of things to look forward to, and I think, like I was saying, the last couple of weeks aren't going to ruin it for me. I mean, the PSG and Chelsea games could have went either way, to be honest, and you could be looking to qualify for the Champions League in a semi-final of a Carabao Cup. It's just fine margins, isn't it? Yeah. We've just had no luck, so bring it on, I'll see.
What's been your highlight of Sorry, Alan, what's been your highlight of 2023, Paul?
My highlight, I think it's got to be that Leicester game, just when my son in the crowd, and just when he started crying and other people around you, it was just emotional, wasn't it? And obviously the Champions League music as well, hearing that when I went to Dortmund game and stuff like that. It's just 14 years of that fat bastard, and then you've got we've got a lot of things to look forward to. I just think it's going to be great next season. I think next year.
Yeah. Right, Len. Well done, Paul. Very good. Len, what's been your take on 2023?
Well, first things first, I'm taking that off.
Oh, it is Len. Thank God for that.
Thank God for that. Oh, it is Len.
He's sweating like Len. He's sweating.
Hang on a second. Let's get so I can't. It's not that it's too hot, although it is too hot. It's because I can't drink through it. Hang on. Anyway, Rob, I'm pleased you're asking about highlights of the year, because I've picked out a couple, so I'll just go through them with you. I think the highlight for me, as far as matches are concerned, was PSG, because I think there was just everything was so great and unexpected about that match. Nobody expected to win it. We expected to hopefully get a draw or something similar, but we actually went on and won it. So as far as nights out are concerned, the PSG game in the Champions League for me was the best match of the season. Second to that was the Spurs match when we won 6-1, but for different reasons, because I was behind the goal with my 7-year-old granddaughter, and she thought every match was going to be like that. You know, every match we go to now, she wants to be behind the goal and watching those 5 goals go in 21 minutes. So I'm trying to explain whether that doesn't happen in real life. Not very often. So as far as matches are concerned, those were my 2 favourite matches of the season highlights. And I think, I was thinking about the season as a whole, because I think you're right what you said, Owen, about the cup final. I was over in Benidorm watching it, and I had a great afternoon. Yes, I was a bit disappointed that we didn't win the game, but I was just pleased we got to the final, put a bit of graft in, and it wasn't such a bad performance after all. And on another day, if we'd had more, the keeper situation, I think, affected things a bit. And I think had Pope been in goal, the defence would have been more confident, and I think we would have got a different result. So I think great to get to the cup final. Hopefully we can get to a final this year and win it. And 2 or 3 players really that have stood out for us this season. Firstly, Tino Livramento. I think when we signed him, I wasn't too excited about the signing. I thought it's a good signing, but I don't know too much about him. But he's come into the team, and Tino really for me is the real deal. He's a top class Premier League footballer, and he'll go on to be an international footballer as well. Obviously, Lewis Miley's come in the last few games due to all the injuries, and he's been absolutely tremendous. He doesn't look like a kid; he looks like a man when he's playing. When you see the close up, you realise he is just a young man playing a man's game, and he's fitted in perfectly. And a little mention for Jamal Lascelles, who I think was completely off the radar, and due to injuries, he's had a chance and he doesn't look out of place. And yes, he'll make the occasional mistake, but then Botman makes the occasional mistake. All the defenders do from time to time. So I think there's 2 or 3 players really that have impressed me this season. And I think, Paul, you're right. Bring on 2024 for me, because I think I was looking up on the internet today to see if you could get actually stats for the calendar year as to, win ratios and goals scored and all this. I couldn't find it anywhere. But, I think if you look at the January to December period of time, the end of last season was very strong. The beginning of this season was reasonable. I think once we get a few players back, I think we'll hopefully finish strongly and another cup final and maybe some silverware.
Okay, excellent, Len. Alan, what were you going to say there before? Sorry.
I was just going to echo what Len says. If you look, when Paul was talking about injuries and all that, on the positive note, we wouldn't have found these little gems like Lewis Miley and Tino. You know what I mean? So we are looking at youth as well and bringing them through. Like if we have a few more Lewis Mileys, which Paul, a few of his siblings are playing football now for Newcastle. Hopefully we'll have a really good future coming through from the northeast as well.
Well, the average age of the squad is quite young when you look at it. There's only about 3 or 4 who are sort of over 30, isn't it? A lot of them are early to mid-20s, a lot of the squad, and obviously some of them are teenagers, really.
I'll just echo what I said a couple of weeks ago, really, and I think I've heard a few people saying this now. I think Lewis Miley now, after playing 6 or 7 games in the Premier League, when it comes down to everybody being fit, he's got to be in there and spoken about every single week, and I think he will be. He'll be a realistic choice to start in the centre of midfield, and I realise they'll want to rest him and not play him every week. But there's a good shout for him. If you pick your best three in midfield, you wouldn't be far off it.
So at the beginning of January, the start of 2024, we're off over to the dark side. What's everyone's plans? Has anyone managed to get a ticket for the game, or?
No, I'm going out to watch the match. I think I'm going out with my wife to watch it. I think she's got a little. I'm off the week beforehand, and I think she's got a little weekend planned somewhere where she's actually mentioned we're gonna go and watch the match. So other than that, unfortunately, I haven't got a ticket out. I wouldn't want, looking at all the restrictions around going to the match, I'm not sure I'd want to go through all that.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna probably watch it in the house because I'm gonna watch this dodgy band on a night and go to the car.
Dodgy band.
Band, aye. Doing the road in the pub. There's bad. I'll remember the name later.
Well, let's put it this way. I mean, it's it could set up a great night, though, couldn't it? If we get the results, which I'm pretty confident we will do. So
we've got to sort our away form out, though, Rob. Haven't we?
Yep,
That is
it's a
becoming a
concern.
bit of an issue. Like,
yeah, it is a bit of a concern now. Yeah,
And now
That's
we're
the
losing
difference.
these odd
That's
games.
his moment.
It's game management. We've got to start. I mean, just going back to that Chelsea game, the ball the other night, Trippier just kicks it aimlessly down. We've got to keep the ball a bit better, like. And now we've got injuries, but you can still pass the ball and find a teammate. It's game management. We should have just ran the clock down.
Yeah.
Actually, on a serious note,
What's the matter with Trippier?
Say about what you say.
What's happening with Kieran Trippier?
Well, we all know there's something going on outside of football, but until that is disclosed, which I think it will be in the new year, then I think we've just got to support him. And as soon as everybody's fit, we've just got to maybe rest him if we can. Because I think the club, the way he's playing, I think the club have maybe got to come out and say something. But I don't think we're in a position to until we've got enough players to sort of cover for him. Really, I think he still has to figure in the first 11, if not the first 11, certainly a player on the bench. Because I think his form is a bit of a liability, really. To be honest,
I think he's starting tomorrow.
He has a question. His head's not in the game, right? And yous are Eddie Howe. Go around. Would you start him tomorrow?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't. Definitely not.
I would start him 100%. I think that's and I get everything. And the rumours, aren't they? We've all read on social media all the stuff that goes on, but at the end of the day, I think that the lads, he's a senior professional. He's been around the block. He's played in some really highly competitive games. He's played in the World Cup and stuff like that. So I personally think that he can put all that behind him. I think, to be honest with you, I think he'd rather be on the football pitch. I think he wouldn't want to be on the bench. He wouldn't want to be, certainly wouldn't be dropped out of the squad and stuff like that. I think if he's going through a bit of a rough time, no matter what, he's one of these lads, to me, that would want to put it right straight away. And I think we've got to back him to do that, because as far as I'm concerned, he's the best fullback I've ever seen in a black and white shirt. Like, he's just a phenomenal player, absolutely brilliant player. And we're a better team. There's two players for me that when they play well, Newcastle United are very unplayable, and that's him and Bruno. I think when they're on the game, we're a fantastic side, and I just think we've got some tough games coming up, and obviously there's the FA Cup, which is the one that we want to keep alive, because obviously that's the last chance of silverware. But these lads have got to get confident, they've got to get firing, and it's a really tough game on Saturday, and we've got to put our best team out that we've got available. Because as much as Luton have, they're in the bottom three, they've been unlucky with some of the games. If you look, I think they ran Man City close. I think there was another one that they ran close. I don't know, was it
Arsenal, Liverpool,
Arsenal possibly? So
last minute goal.
It's no gimme. So personally, to answer your question, Alan, absolutely, I would start him without a shadow of a doubt.
So Alan, just out of interest, would you pick him in your starting 11 for the match on Saturday?
No. I would go Tino right back. You're going to love this. Watch Len's face. Dan Burn left back.
He's back.
That's what I would start. started as. Sorry, sorry, but that's my opinion.
I think
Actually,
you've got to play Burn and Botman tomorrow because they're a long ball team. You need all the height you can get.
Mm.
Oh,
You need-
definitely.
Definitely, because they're just going to pummel the box, aren't they? So I think, like I say, Trippier, I think it's games like tomorrow where he will show his experience in these tight little stadiums. I think I would play him like tomorrow. But it's where do you play Livramento? You cannot drop him.
Well,
That's it, isn't it? That's the headache, isn't it?
So you've got to look at form. I actually agree. You know, I would really be a toss of a coin whether I picked him. I mean, I probably would have a chat with him, and you don't know what he's, you know, what is. If he really wants to play and he's looked good in training, then maybe play him. But you don't really know for definite if that's the case. But if that is the case, you probably would play him in the game against Luton. I'm quite happy to see him in the starting 11. I just think if his mind is not in the right place, then I just dread the fact that if he makes another mistake, you know, that costs us another goal. I'm just a bit worried about the fact that he may continue in that form, and we can't afford to drop any more points.
Well,
There's
that's-
another one though. If Livramento, he could play on the wing, couldn't he? If Gordon doesn't make it.
Yeah, definitely. Because Livramento, I think, again, we've said this for the last few weeks or the last few shows, Livramento has got to be in that starting 11 because he gives you so much in every department.
Aye, he's dribbling and that, isn't it? And
Brilliant, isn't he?
he carries the ball up the pitch for you, doesn't he?
Because the next two games I see is quite crucial when you've got Liverpool on New Year's Day. I think
Yeah.
we need to get definitely the 6 points next two games.
Yeah, I
Because
think
you
you
know,
need,
at Anfield,
I think you need the
history at Anfield.
you need the 6 points, and then you can chill out against Liverpool, and what will be will be. But without those 6 points, you're going to go in nervous, and that's not the way you want to go into a game at Liverpool.
Well, you've got Liverpool, Man City, then Villa. They're the next 3 league games after that.
Tough,
And
you
then
know.
you've got the
Tough.
buttons in between and all.
Now look how good Villa are at the minute.
And well, it's away as well, isn't it?
Right, they've
Was it
16
14
games
on the bounce or something?
14 or 16 on the bounce.
Flying on them. Alan, why do I get the impression that you're going to burst out in any second with Crocodile Rock or something like that? Candle in the wind or something? It's them glasses.
Fit the Christmas. Fit the Christmas.
Right, listen, right.
All right,
we're-
join in, man.
Right,
You want to sing out the
right, listen, we're running out of time. So anyway, right, great having you on, guys.
Oh, I'm predictions,
Predictions,
Rob.
Rob.
predictions.
Go
I'm
predictions.
running out. You're gonna have to make it very fast because I'm really running out of time here.
1-0 Newcastle.
1-0. Owen,
I'm going to go 2-0 Newcastle.
Len,
3-0.
Alan.
2-1.
I'll go 2-0. Right, on behalf of myself and all the lads, we wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a fantastic New Year. And don't forget, if you do find yourself in a not so good situation over the festive period, reach out. There's always someone at the end of a phone. I know how that time of year can be difficult for a lot of people. So once again, on behalf of myself and the lads, Merry Christmas, everyone, and we'll see you all in the new year.
Merry
All
Christmas.
All the best,
Right,
everyone.
yeah.
See you
All the
later.
best.
All the best.